What hidden detail in an old house revealed a lifelong secret? My grandmother's house was a time capsule, a dusty, quiet place where nothing ever changed. And apparently that was the problem. When she passed, the house became mine. I started clearing it out, room by room. It felt like an archaeological dig through a life I thought I knew. In her bedroom, tucked away in the back of a closet, I found a door I'd never seen before. It was small, almost hidden behind an old dresser. I expected to find old clothes or forgotten Christmas decorations. Instead, I found a meticulously organized room. It was like a detective's office. Walls were covered in corkboards, pinned with newspaper clippings, photos, and handwritten notes. But none of it was about my grandmother. It was all about the Montgomerys, the wealthiest family in town. It was a complete, exhaustive history of their lives, spanning 60 years. I thought it was just a strange obsession, until I found the journals. There were dozens of them, filled with my grandmother's elegant script. The first few detailed her lonely life as an orphan working as a maid for the Montgomery family. Then, the entries changed. They became about their youngest daughter, Clara, a girl my grandmother's age who was always sick. One entry stopped me cold. Clara passed in her sleep. No one knows but me and the doctor. Her parents are away. This is my only chance. The next entry was dated a week later, written in a shaky hand. I am Clara now. I sat on the floor, the dusty air thick in my lungs. My grandmother hadn't just been obsessed, she had stolen a life. I spent the next 2 weeks glued to a computer screen, cross-referencing names from the journals with old town records. The real Clara Montgomery's death was never recorded. Instead, there was a record of my grandmother, listed under her birth name, dying from an illness a month later. She had swapped their identities. The final piece was a locked metal box I found under the floorboards. I spent hours trying to pick the lock, finally prying it open with a crowbar. Inside was an old marriage certificate. My grandfather's name was next to Clara Montgomery. He had been Clara's fiancé. He had married an imposter. My grandmother hadn't just taken a name, she had taken a husband, a family, an entire future that belonged to someone else. The current head of the Montgomery family was in his 90s, the real Clara's older brother. I found his number online. I stared at it for a full day before I dialed. An old, frail voice answered. I took a deep breath. My name is, well, I think you knew my grandmother. Her name was Clara. There was a long silence on the other end. Then he said, Clara is dead. She died when she was 17. The last thing I did was send him a single photograph from the box. It showed my grandmother, young and smiling on her wedding day. On the back, in her own handwriting, it said the new Mrs. Montgomery.